Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Cradle-to-Career Selection for Advisory Boards Committees. My name is Ana Luz Gonzalez Vasquez, and I am the chair of this committee. Today marks our second committee meeting, which will be run according to the Bagley-Keene Open Meeting Act as required by law. We plan to end around 2 o'clock today. I would like to welcome the members of the Selection for Advisory Boards Committees who are with me today. Member Jess, Millam, Sullivan, Vu, and I are participating remotely as indicated on the agenda. Before we begin, a small note to members, please ensure that we remain on camera throughout the duration of the meeting to be in compliance with the requirements set forth in the Bagley-Keene Opening Meeting Act. Okay, the purpose of today's meeting is to approve 12 applicants and runners-up for both the Data and Tools Advisory Board and Community Engagement Advisory Board. The 12 applicants and runners-up will be recommended to the Governing Board for final approval at the August 15th Governing Board meeting. As a reminder, at the first committee meeting in April, the committee approved the Advisory Board's application, the rubric, and the selection process. In preparation for today's meeting, members of the committee reviewed the applications, submitted and scored the applications in tandem with the rubric to provide a prioritization of applicants to the office. I would like to take a moment to thank all that applied. This year, the office received 100 unique and competitive applications. We truly appreciate all the candidates' time and effort in undergoing this process. We see the investment of the time that you've made and feel your enthusiasm, and we thank you for it. Additionally, we received 54 letters of support and 51 written comments from individuals and organizations that have taken their time to vocalize their support. Thank you very much for your input and insights. We appreciate your time and thoughts. The committee has not seen this level of public engagement in previous years, and it's really amazing to witness. Additionally, I would like to thank my fellow members of the committee. This is a hard and detailed-oriented work, and with the brilliant candidate pool we received, it made our jobs even harder. Thank you for the time, effort, thought, and deep consideration you put into this prior to our meeting today. I think that will be critical to us, our success in this meeting. For individuals who are joining us through Zoom, all companion materials are posted on the C2C website. Given the amount of engagement we have this year, I would like to take a moment to walk through public participation. If you are joining us today and would like to make a public comment about an applicant, we will take those comments during agenda item 3 and 4. When we open public comment, it is very important that you raise your hand right away, signaling that you would like to speak, as we will count the total number of public comments we have and adjust speaking times accordingly. We may have a lot of folks joining us today, and we would like to hear all of your unique voices. Okay, on to the next slide. I would like to call the meeting to order and ask that Stephanie Gutierrez Valdez please call the roll.
Good morning. Member Gonzalez Vasquez?
Here.
Member Jez?
Here.
Member Nellam?
Here.
Member Sullivan?
Here.
Member Vu?
Here.
For the clarity of the record, we have 5 members present. We have a quorum.
Now we will move to the agenda item 2, approval of the minutes from the April 28th, 2025 Selection for Advisory Board Committee meeting. Do we have any additions, corrections to the April 28th, 2025 meeting minutes from members? Okay. I don't hear any. Okay, may I have a motion to approve the April meeting minutes as submitted?
I move to approve the minutes.
Yes.
Second.
Okay, before we vote, sorry, I forgot to mention, let's pause for a public comment.
Chair Gonzalez Vasquez confirming that there is no one at the CTC office. Now opening up to Zoom. For members of the public attending via Zoom, please raise your hand at this time if you would like to comment on this specific agenda item. I see no raised hands on Zoom. I will close public comment at this time.
Great, thank you so much. And we have a motion and a second. I will now ask Stephanie Gutierrez Valdez to perform a roll call to vote.
Member Gonzalez Vasquez,
Aye.
Member Jez,
Aye.
Member Nellum,
Abstain. I wasn't there.
Member Sullivan,
Aye.
and Member Vu.
Yes.
For the clarity of the record, we have 4 ayes and 1 abstention. The motion passes.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. Now we will move to agenda item 3, discussion, public comment, and possible action on the Data Tools and Advisory Board applicants. I would like to invite Mary Kate Cruz Jones, Chief of Strategic Initiatives and Partnerships, to present this agenda item today.
Wonderful. Thank you. Good afternoon, members, and welcome folks from the public. I'm Mary Kate Cruz Jones, Chief of Strategic Initiatives and Partnerships. And during this agenda item, we will walk through the Data and Tools Advisory Board scope of work, review the Data and Tools Advisory Board member snapshot, and resurface helpful established experience for appointments that were discussed at the April 28th committee meeting in comparison to the application breakdown. Lastly, I'll present the member slating based off of the committee prioritization. The committee will then discuss and deliberate applicants, and the committee will need to agree upon 6 applicants to seat for the upcoming vacancies and identify 6 runners-up, noting prioritization of ranking for the Data and Tools Advisory Board. All right, so let's take a look here. Before we discuss any sorry, if we could go back to the other slide. Brilliant, thank you. Before we dig into the applicants or the process itself, I just want to take a look at Data and Tools Advisory Board, what they do and kind of ground members in their work. So the Data and Tools Advisory Board provides input on C2C's governing board, obviously y'all are seated there, to ensure that the data system is creating actionable tools. The Data and Tools Advisory Board consists of 16 folks that are appointed by you all, and they serve in staggered 3-year terms. Next slide, please. Fabulous. Thank you. So taking a look at what's happening. So this slide shows the current Data and Tools Advisory Board member snapshot. As you can see, and as we've said several times here today, there's going to be 6 members that are cycling off the Data and Tools Advisory Board, 3 practitioners and 3 researchers. Given their departure and pending the new selection of members, Data and Tools Advisory Board will be composed of the following folks. So 2 members that represent advocacy organizations, 2 members that represent community organizations, 5 practitioners, and 1 researcher organization. So at the April 28th committee meeting, members discussed and agreed upon opportunities to strengthen engagement and expressed interest in candidates with demonstrated experience with those communities. The 5 communities identified were apprenticeship programs, career pathway programs, regional focus specific to the Central Valley, as well as Northern California, and students, specifically those at the undergraduate level. So while this experience for appointment was discussed, today the committee will be finalizing slating decisions and prioritization for recommendation to the governing board based upon the applicants that we were given. Let's take a look at the scoring rubric that's in front of us. Members received all the applications, a summary spreadsheet, which was used as a personal review tool, a Google form, which was used to share the results of the rubric scores for candidates, and then this rubric, which is displayed on the slide for you. The scoring rubric was approved by the committee at the April 28th meeting, and it defined the criteria that was used for scoring of the applicants. The defined criteria, as we discussed in the April 28th meeting, is as follows. So it highlights community affiliation, data sets, data alignment, and actionable experience. Let's take a look at that application breakdown. So I would like to echo what Committee Chair Gonzalez Vasquez stated at the opening of this meeting. And on behalf of the office, we'd like to thank all of those that applied to the Data and Tools Advisory Board. It was evident that folks took their time to complete the application, which led to very thoughtful applications. So we really, really appreciate it. Also, thank you again to all of our members because we know the hard work that goes into this. So we are pleased to announce that we received a total of 37 Data and Tools Advisory Board applications for the 6 impending vacancies. Please note that the office received 4 additional applications that were not reviewed by the committee as they were ineligible due to either residents outside of California or being employed by an organization represented on the governing board. So those are two things that we saw come up and made those applicants ineligible. In addition, on June 23rd, 2025, the office received a request from one applicant to withdraw their application for consideration. So you'll notice that note was made and it's live on our website. This has been a very competitive process, and the office is interested to kind of dig into the work right now with the committee. So on the application, applicants had the opportunity to self-identify communities that were that they're affiliated with, and this happened in question 9 on the application. Based upon the applicant's selection and information disclosed in the application, applicants were grouped into vacancy categories in which the committee members provided their prioritization for selection to the Data and Tools Advisory Board. Out of the 37 Data and Tools Advisory Board applications received, 8 applicants were grouped as advocacy or community organization representatives. 17 applicants were grouped as practitioners, and 12 applicants were grouped as researchers. So as indicated in this chart in front of us here. There were 4 applicants that disclosed a secondary category, graduate student. As a reminder, if folks were in undergrad, they would have been seated in the student category. And if they're undergrad or higher, they have that dual category. So let's take a look at the prioritization that came in. So if we could go to the next slide, please. So for advocacy and community slating. So sorry, and I should say, before I go into the results, I want to apologize in advance if I mispronounce any names of the candidates, and feel free to correct me. I'll do my best. I appreciate your understanding and thank you in advance for that. Thanks for your grace. So the committee, there's a few choice points for you here, and those are indicated in the color, and I'll voice over what this means a little bit more in a second. So after tabulating the rubric scores for members, the top ranked advocacy and community representative was Cameron Schmidt-Temple from UC Berkeley Center for Educational Partnerships. And then there was a tie between Renee Mahata from Chino Valley Chamber of Commerce and Jaden Villanueva from California State University, Dominguez Hills, Division of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Justice for the second seat. And that's where you see the purple on this slide. So members will need to make a selection for the second ranked candidate, and that other candidate will then be slated as the first runner-up. Again, the decision point is reflected in purple on the slide deck. The second runner-up that came in for this category was Dimitri Seals from Leaf and Cal State LA. Okay, let's take a look at practitioner. So the top ranked individuals in this category are Ritu Khanna from San Francisco Unified School District and Viviana Unda from El Camino College. The runners-up for this category are Daniel Melendrez from Superior Court of California, County of San Bernardino, and Michelle Ransom from UC San Diego. Moving on to researcher, in this category, again, we see choice points here for the committee, and there are 2. The top-ranked individual in this category was Tina Chuck from California Polytechnic State University, San Luis Obispo. There was a tie between Stephanie Neville from RTI International and Winnie Yee from University of California, Irvine for the second seat. So members will need to make a selection for the second-ranked candidate. And as we saw previously, the other person will then fall into the runner-up category. And this choice point is reflected in green. Now, the second choice point in this section for the committee is reflected in orange on the slide. After tabulating the committee's results, there was a tie between Travis Candeas from the University of California, Santa Barbara, and Dustin Timashiro from California State University, Northridge. Again, members will need to make that selection for the second runner-up in the researcher category. I would like to note that one of these 2 folks will not be seated. So bringing this all together, on the next slide, perfect, we have it here, excuse me. Bringing this all together, this is what potential slating looks like based off of the committee's rubric scores. I wanted to uplift that based upon the tabulation of prioritization. The committee has at a minimum of 3 choice points, which again are reflected in purple, green, and orange for you here. So taking a look at the motion, I know I'm giving you a lot of information, bear with me, I'm almost done here. The proposed motion for this agenda item is as follows. Move to recommend the governing board to approve 6 applicants for appointment to the Data and Tools Advisory Board and 6 runners-up. Of course, you all through your discussions will determine what those 12 names will look like. As y'all discuss the prioritization of applicants, I kindly ask that you be very direct about which applicants are being prioritized. It's very important that the office understands where we're at in this process as we need to prepare this information for the August Governing Board meeting. And that will include prioritization of applicants and runners-up. So before I turn it over to the committee chair, I just want to remind members that we teed up some useful questions for you, and they're in the staff report on page 5. This might help guide member deliberation. Another note that I wanted to make is based upon the tabulation that we got from y'all, it might make the most sense not to rank order the runners up, but rather keep the runners up earmarked by their vacancy category. And if that's unclear, we could talk through that as y'all are deliberating. And then lastly, I just want to mention that there was one member during the prioritization process that recused themselves from a section of the prioritization process due to a potential conflict of interest. So should that applicant name appear before the committee in a vote, we could see this committee member abstain from the vote. So just kind of to normalize that thought. I would now like to hand it back to you, Committee Chair Gonzalez-Vasquez, to lead us through member deliberation and ask that my colleague Cynthia Lopez-Montes please refer back to slide 17, which we have here for potential slating. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you so much, Mary Kate Cruz-Jones, for all that information. I would like to turn it over to our member questions, comments, and to start the deliberation process. As Mary Kate mentioned, we have different choice points. I think what was mentioned was really important around looking at the different categories. The first one is the advocacy/community. And we have 2 candidates here, Renee Meta and Jaden Villanueva. I'm opening it up for member deliberation and comments. Member Sullivan?
Yeah, thank you. Member Sullivan, do I need to? No, I'm sorry. I don't need to do that for this meeting. I'm used to being in the big room and I have to say my name first. And okay. Um, so given these two, so I don't want to belabor this, and I know that, you know, it's the middle of the working day for lots of us, but I do want to just sort of yes and the comments on the quality of the applicants. This is my first time serving on this board, and it was very hard. And I know we had identified some priority areas, and then I got in there and started reading some of these things, and I thought, oh, you know, we didn't identify that, but this is a good quality to have. So with that said, between Renee and Jaden, I am leaning towards Jaden for a couple of reasons. One, I really appreciate that Jaden's status as a graduate student and a researcher. This could be some important work for them. Maybe in the work that they're doing at CSU Dominguez Hills. I also really do appreciate that they are in the Division of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Justice at Dominguez Hills. And I'm just going to go ahead and say in this public setting, with some of these things sort of coming under attack right now, diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice, I really like bringing on a graduate student who no doubt, at least through their application, has a lot of passion and interest, and I think could add a lot to the data and tools advisory.
Thank you so much, Member Sullivan. Member Vu?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I just want to echo Aaron's comments about the quality of the applicants that sent in their information. This is my third time doing this, and it seems like every year, every time that we do this, I don't think we do this every year. Maybe we do. I can't remember. The selection process just becomes more and more difficult, not only, you know, not because of the number of applicants, but the quality of the applicants as well. And just, you know, really, you know, it seems like almost every single, we can choose any of these, any of the applicants, and, you know, they could have served very well in this capacity. But I also agree with Aaron, you know, just given Jaden can also fill that role of student, I think, you know, I would lean more toward Jaden, and, you know, because of that. Remind me, C2C staff, how many student for?
For no undergrads, but for graduate level plus.
Right.
Mhm.
How many for how many seats for students though? Did we kind of reserve for students? It was 2, right?
Yes, I think we had thought we could do 1 seat and 1 runner-up for a student. But considering that we didn't get any folks in their undergraduate journey, this is what it looks like based off of your prioritization. But I think we were hoping for at least 1 seat, yes.
Yeah. Remind me, I believe Stephanie Neville is also categorized as student.
That is a wonderful question.
Or was it Winnie?
It's Winnie.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, for Member Vu. Member Jess?
Just want to echo sort of all the previous comments about sort of the candidates, and I think any of them obviously would be qualified and would be a benefit to the advisory boards. And we'll encourage anyone, even if they're not selected, to join the advisory board meetings and the governing board meetings and share your input. I feel like a little challenging set, I think, to the question that Tom just had around the student categories across both. So like, yeah, if this is sort of where we lead, but then what does that mean for the next one? So I don't know what the process is, but like, I'm thinking about sort of, we have sort of 2 categories and opportunities to fill sort of priority areas. And then I remember there was somewhere in the prep materials, sort of open priority areas that we had not yet tackled, or been able to sort of get representatives from. Is that available as a slide, or could someone point me to the page in like the PDF? That I wasn't sure if that was the member snapshot, like
Yes, that is an artifact from the April 28th meeting, but available to members on Onboard.
perfect. And it looked like, I mean, I feel like I saw something where like with the slating, we still had some areas like priority sort of populations you wanted to include that were not covered based off of what's happened since April. Does that sound right?
Yes, so I think you're referring to the slide. Let me get the number. One moment, please. '27.
Got it. Okay.
So Cynthia, if we could go to slide 27, that goes over the 5 areas, or excuse me, the 4, which include, yeah, right there. Or
Sorry, there was one that maybe there was a slide that showed based on the current slating where we still have gaps.
yeah, and I've also, this is the wrong slide because I'm in community engagement and I need to get you to data and tools. That connection is only available on Onboard
Oh, okay.
and not actually in the slides. But if you
Okay.
wanted to see the areas similar to that, it's in the slides here.
Can someone, what's the onboard document page? That was really useful. Now we're seeing it now. I would love to look at it again.
Sure. Stephanie, if you could help me find that and the first one there, if we can, we'll dig. One moment, please.
Perfect. So and maybe more generally thinking about sort of the field of candidates we have here, and the potential slating. And I was looking across sort of both groups, and thinking about sort of the coverage of folks that we will have. So we have sort of students or graduate students in both groups, and we have, I think, also faculty who work closely with students in both groups also, which I think is a real benefit. I do think I was leaning towards, let's see, the candidate Renee, largely because of the connection to the employer community, which I hadn't seen, and the business community, which I hadn't seen as a parent in my scan around the current data and tools. And I think an important user of C2C that is less represented across the governing board and the advisory boards. And I did not get a chance to review the community engagement applicants, so perhaps we have employers and the business community represented there. But I think they would also be really critical, and Renee has that. In addition to also, it looks like Renee also served around connected to K-12. So raising, I guess, another point, but
Really appreciate that point, Member Jess. Do you have any additional comments before I move on?
nope. Perhaps once we have the
slide.
open gaps, yeah, I think that would be really useful.
No. Okay, so let's while we wait for that, Member Sullivan, do you want to go ahead and comment?
Yeah, thank you. I actually would like to change my mind. And thank you, Member Jez, for bringing to my attention something that is in our packet that isn't in the slides, which identifies a couple of areas for Renee that I do think are critical, and I feel a little bashful that I had forgotten about this. So Renee also has affiliation with apprenticeships and career pathway programs. And I think that those are critical areas to have in data and tools, especially given that we've recently brought the Department of Apprenticeship Services on as a data provider. I think that that's going to be important. And also given the fact that we have the potential to, so while I liked, so I have a lot of things open here, not Renee. While I liked Jaden's status as a student, I want to appreciate that we have the opportunity also, maybe with Winnie, to select a student as a researcher. So I'm going to change my leaning officially, and really appreciate the opportunity to have this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Member Sullivan. Anyone else would like to comment?
Sorry, quickly, if
Go
helpful.
ahead.
If you're looking in the packet, it's page 528. And also, if helpful, I received a reminder. Yes, Member Sullivan, you did beautiful modeling at the beginning of this saying, I'm Member Sullivan. That was wonderful. And if we could continue to do it, and I can model it right now, I'm Mary Kate Cruz Jones, Chief of Strategic Initiatives and Partnerships. Thank you.
Thank you for the reminder, Mary Kate. Okay, well, we'll look through the onboarding. Any other additional comments from members? Okay. I was leaning more towards Jaden, to be honest with you, because of the student profile and because of the student populations that the person also works with. Quite frankly, it's those populations that have been historically underserved and experience a lot of the barriers, both in education and employment. But I do see the value in having that employer voice, Member Jess. So I really appreciate that you uplifted that. And I'm also noting that for Reina, the geography is also in a workforce development desert or education desert. They represent folks in the Inland Empire, San Bernardino, and those areas as well. So I just wanted to lift that up as well as a potential consideration because they are serving folks in areas that have been historically underserved by different systems. Okay. Any other comments? Are folks leaning more towards Reina than Jaden, or should we go on to the next slating? Do we need to discuss this a bit more?
Question, this is Tom Vu, a member of the committee. Process-wise, I guess, are we looking at voting for each position first and then moving on to the next, or are we just going to do it all at once?
I was hoping that we could do it by category. So
Okay.
choosing one for advocacy and then continuing on to do researcher. I believe I see someone's hand up. Is that right?
We can just a small process thought here. We can and will take public comment after member deliberation. And I'm sure there's plenty of folks on the line that will be interested in that.
Okay. So should I just move on to the next slating for researcher? Okay,
That
perfect.
works for me.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you, Member Jess. Okay, so we have another choice point between Stephanie and Winnie. Opening it up for member deliberation comments. Member Sullivan?
Yeah, I just want to note for Stephanie Neville, the what seems like pretty deep experience in working with education and workforce data. And also having been part of the query building tool, one of the experts that was used by Cradle-to-Career early on. So this person has some good familiarity with what Cradle-to-Career is doing, as well as having some real extensive experience, really hands-on experience with developing these kinds of tools. I just want to acknowledge that.
Thank you for that comment.
Mhm.
Member Sullivan. Member Jess?
I just also like want to echo that, like the work that RTI does around the data lab and the restricted data access systems, I mean, is, I think some of the best tools, if not the best tools around researcher access. So I think it would be amazing to have that expertise, I mean, deeply committed to the development of our system and our governing, our data system is at the point where we are jumping into building these query tools and the infrastructure for restricted researcher access. So it also feels like the right moment for that level of expertise. Also thinking about, the conversation we just had about the student voice too. So I'm glad we're having these conversations together versus doing it just voting on one group and then to the next. I know we talked about Winnie also having the perspective of being a researcher, and also has, I think, a lot of, experience as a PhD student now as, being a user, and not just a builder, but I'm sure has, it seems like from the material, strong insights and preferences and a thoughtfulness around what a user of a data system like facilitates better use. And I do think we are building this amazing data system, and ultimately we've got to make sure that it can be used well. And so I think finding this balance. So I know that probably did not, I don't know if I have like a strong, I think they're both amazing in different ways. And not that Stephanie wouldn't be a user, but I think about the like novice user, the PhD student, as being, a really important sort of like use case to have on the advisory board also.
Really appreciate you lifting that up in terms of the user experience. I think that's really important as well. And like we said, these are really good candidates. Both are really excellent. Any additional comments? Okay, I don't see any. Okay, now I think the last choice point is between Travis and Dustin, who will be runners up. We need to choose one for a runner up. Any comments?
How can choosing a runner-up be more difficult than choosing
They're
between two
all
people?
excellent candidates, Erin. They're all excellent.
Oh my
It's
goodness.
probably the hardest, process we've had to go through.
And Travis is also a grad student, right?
Yeah.
G student.
That's correct.
And was the Central Coast region a priority region or a region that we were looking to build?
Yes.
Yeah.
That said, Dustin has also had experiences with community colleges. And that was one of those areas, when I said early on, things that I hadn't thought about as priority areas until I got digging in, and I was like, oh, community colleges. This is like, the fourth segment in ed prep that often gets overlooked.
And it looks like he also lists like the South Coast region as the region that he's worked in or supported or
Yeah, he's at Northridge. Well, if we were to stand solely on our priority areas, it would be Travis. Like if we have to, if we like them both so equally, Travis has that central, state location as well as being the student that we're potentially stepping away from in our other two, potentially. I know we haven't chosen yet. Yeah, I'd love to hear what other people think.
I was
I
thinking more-
agree.
Oh, go ahead, member Jess.
I was just saying I agree.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I was leaning more towards filling the geography considerations that or prioritizations that we discussed during the last meeting. Member Thomas and Member Lona, any comments?
No comments from me. I mean, they're, it's difficult. They're both so qualified. I'm comfortable with either.
Okay, thank you for that. Member Vu. And remind me, Mary Kate, do we have enough to, based on our discussion, can we move on to a motion or do we still need to deliberate before we
Yeah.
move on to public comment?
So that's a good question and one I was actually going to pose to the committee. I feel like I've heard clear consensus for the orange category and maybe there was clear consensus for the purple and the green, but I heard kind of equal amounts of voices on for the purple and for the green. So I hear Travis, but if there could be more, if I could get from the committee more of a clear consensus in terms of Renee or Jaden, Stephanie or Winnie, because I feel like I heard 2 to 3 members for either of them, and it didn't feel as clear cut for me in those places. With that, I think we would be in place, or if there's somebody that's very decisive that knows from this list what you want, somebody could put forth a motion at this time. Somebody could say the names off and that could be the motion. We could then open it up for public comment and see if the motion passes. That is a way to do this.
Okay, Member Sullivan, I see you.
Yeah, Erin Sullivan, advisory board committee member. I have actually a question for staff. Can you remind me, please, the runners up are they like, does that create an alternate pool so that if one of the appointed members, okay, got it. Thank you for that. So then I would like to go ahead and take a stab at this. I do feel like there was agreement on Renee after the discussion, so I would like to recommend selecting Renee for the purple category. Certainly Travis, I think, for the orange category. And you know, I realize we talked about that in terms of Travis, like, okay, there's our student, but this is a runner-up, so it's not somebody actually serving on the panel. In which case, I might like to recommend Winnie for the green category as opposed to Stephanie. That's a hard choice though, but I could live with that, and that's what I'm recommend. That's what I'm throwing out there is Renee, Winnie, and Travis.
So if helpful, sorry to chime in here, committee chair. If helpful, what I'd like to do is we have a motion, and I know that member Sullivan did just kind of talk some things out, but let's formalize that a little bit. So if I could have Cynthia from our team, please pull the language that we have teed up related to a motion. What we can do for you all, or for Member Sullivan, if you could just voice over essentially what you said, but with the articulated language, that's very helpful for our governance team. You can formally make the motion. We could open it up for a second if that works for folks. Okay, one moment, please.
Member Jess, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, I wasn't sure, were we going to hear public comment first? If there is any, if there is, I would love to hear that before voting, I think particularly because it sounds like we are not locked in on, you know.
Yeah, so let's talk through this a little bit. So
Thanks.
traditionally what we do is we get a motion in a second, and then we open it up for public comment. There's no voting that happens before public comment. I can tell you that there is, I can see Jaden is with us and has eagerly been waiting for us to call on them. So there are public participants that would like to do it. Once we hear from the public, we can go to a vote or we can change the motion. That's always, nothing is final yet. So I want to be very clear about that. We're just taking the motion, hearing public comment. We can call the vote, or we could go back and change the motion. Okay?
Perfect. Thank you.
Please, thank you.
Great, so we have a motion. Member Sullivan, do you want to read it?
Yes, I'd be happy to. So I move to recommend, let's see, I move to recommend Renee Mehta, Renee Mehta, Winnie Yee for appointment to the Data and Tools Advisory Board, and Travis Candeas as runner-up to the Data and Tools Advisory Board for final approval by the governing board.
Apologies, we'll need the whole
I have to
slide.
read the whole thing? Oh, I understand what you're saying. Okay. I move to recommend Cameron Schmidt-Temple, community member, Renee Mehta, community member, Ritu Khanna, practitioner, Viviana Unda, practitioner, Tina Chook, researcher, Winnie Yee, researcher, for appointment to the Data and Tools Advisory Board, and Dimitri Seals, community member, Daniel Melendrez, practitioner, Michelle Ransom, practitioner, and Travis Candeas, researcher, as runners up to the Data and Tools Advisory Board for final approval by the governing board.
Thank you very much. Can I, Member Sullivan, can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you so much. With a motion and a second, I think now we're going to open it up for public comment. Stephanie Gutierrez Valdez, can you take us through this section, please?
Yeah, I'd actually like to pause real quick and just make a quick legal flag, that we don't see Stephanie Neville and Jaden Villanueva in the motion reflected for runners up to the Data and Tools Advisory Board. But I apologize, I can defer to legal if we need to reread the motion.
So we need to add them to the slide if they're not added, but I'm saying,
But we aren't recommending selecting them, so would they be on the slide? I think that what the names that are here are meant to be the final slate of names, having chosen between Renee and Jaden and Stephanie and Winnie.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
No, but I think that that's right because Jaden would slip into position 1.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Yes, because we're short 2 runners up in this motion. I apologize for the confusion.
Oh, got it. Okay, thank you.
That was my bad. Sorry, folks. We're all learning. So let's give this one more shot. We're going to be so great when we get to community engagement. One
We'll be
moment.
pros.
so if it's easier, Erin, you can just amend your motion without rereading the full motion again. Just say I'm amending it to add and the 2 names if those are highlighted in the motion that goes on the slide.
Okay.
Member Solomon doesn't have to read every name again. And then we needed a second for the amended motion.
And verbal communication that the new motion is ready for folks on the C2C team. We'll try this again.
Great.
Once it's up, we'll get the.
Okay, perfect. And I do see member Nello, your hand is raised.
I just have a logistical question. I guess for staff. So I know we focused on certain applications. Do we still vote on all of them? Is one question. The second is, what if we know someone who's on the slate, and what does know them mean? Do we need to abstain if we know someone, or does it matter how close we are to them? What is
So you only are voting on the slate that you're recommending to the governing board for consideration. So you don't have to vote on every single application, if that makes sense. I think there's 1, 2, 6 candidates and 6 runner-ups. I don't know if I understood your question correctly, but you're just voting on the slate that you're recommending to the governing board. With regard to abstaining from a vote, if you know somebody, really, it's kind of a conflict of interest question. Like, do they work for you? Is your employment somehow tied to work that they do where there would be like a financial conflict? That would be where I would say it would be appropriate to recuse yourself, or if there's such a close relationship that you feel like there might be an appearance of impropriety. But if it's, a lot of people are going to know each other in this community. If it's a casual, I know this person, I talk to them sometimes, that would not be rise to the level of needing to recuse yourself from a vote.
That's perfect. Thank you.
Thank you so much for clarifying, Julia. Okay. Member Sullivan, are you ready? Great.
Yes. So I'd like to amend my motion to include Jaden Villanueva, and Stephanie Neville as runners-up to the Data and Tools Advisory Board.
I second the amendment to the motion.
Okay. Now we can move on to public comment. Stephanie Gutierrez Valdez. Can you walk us through?
Yes, thank you, Committee Chair Gonzalez Vasquez. I am confirming that there's no one at the C2C office wishing to make a public comment. Moving on to Zoom. For members of the public that would like to make a comment, please raise your hand using the button at the bottom of the screen at this time. If we have more than 10 folks that would like to comment, speaking time will be 1 minute. With more than 15 folks wanting to comment, we ask you state your name and the name of the applicants you are supporting. I'm going to go ahead and pause at this moment right now to confirm that we have all individuals raising their hand who wish to make a public comment. Okay, I see one raised hand by Jaden Villanueva. I kindly ask that my colleague Cynthia Lopez Montes please proceed to slide 49. Great, thank you. Jaden, I have allowed you to speak. Your 2 minutes public comment starts now.
Hello, everyone. Hello, members. I'm Jaden Villanueva, and I'm really excited to share my genuine passion for data equity and storytelling with this board to ensure my input contributes to actionable items and tools for all Americans. Californians. I'm one of many students that C2C's data story dashboard illustrates. I was educated in California's K-12 system, and now I'm deeply involved in the SoCal regions, including the South Coast, through my work with CSU Dominguez Hills and my MPA student at Cal State Long Beach. But I'm also part of the SoCal ANAPI group, including the California colleges and nonprofit leaders. I'm a user and builder learning. I'm a user and builder. I volunteered helping high school students enroll in college utilizing tools like californiacolleges.edu and eTranscript to help students go into the community college and transfer to 4 years. And more recently, I've analyzed regional and data to advance practicing equity inclusion programs and promote resources in nonprofit and city level public service capacities, including outreach to employer communities that reach far throughout SoCal and the South Coast. I also used campus data to advocate for the Asian and Pacific Culture Center at Dominguez Hills, advocate for policy by surveying the campus community as ASI Vice President of Academic Affairs, and build wellness calendars for our Student Health Center, all while conducting undergraduate research. I understand that there are multiple graduate students vying for this role, but I've consistently worked to turn complex siloed data into accessible and actionable tools, and I will continue to seek out opportunities to inform and create access in my communities around California. And with that, I am so excited to see how you guys vote, and I'm really excited to see how this turns out. Thank you so much for your time.
Okay, I'm going to pause right here to see if any other hands go up. Seeing none, I would like to close public comment for this portion of the meeting.
Thank you so much, and thank you, Jaden, for your comment. We can clearly hear your passion for this work. Now, can we look at the motion again, just to make sure? I want to just open it up to make sure that we incorporate any last minute changes or decisions. Okay. Wanted to open it up to members. Are we still feeling comfortable with this motion? Any changes that folks would like to see before we vote? Member Jess?
I have to say, I felt that was pretty compelling. I appreciate that she came and spoke for herself and was at this, meeting, the commitment. I don't know. Just wanted to chime in around that. I also felt on the fence about, I mean, Mary Kate is smiling. I'm like, I don't know. We have community engagement go. Uh, I also am on the fence about like Stephanie or Winnie. So thinking like both of those aspects, I really do appreciate Stephanie's expertise building these query tools and the infrastructure. So all this to say, like, I think that um, Jaden and Stephanie and Travis could also be a compelling slate for me. But I think that I do think that they are all be, excellent members. I do think it means a lot that Jaden was here and the passion and I think commitment to the work.
Do I hear you swing your vote? Oh, so maybe we'll pause for that. And Member Sullivan, can you
Yeah.
share?
Yes, thank you, Member Sullivan, Advisory Board Committee member. I think that we are going to need a Member Vu or Member Nellum to come in here and split the vote at some point, or be the tiebreaker, because I also want to, and I hope Jaden is still here, just appreciate that they came to advocate for themselves. That does say a lot. I will echo back to the fact that where we started from, which was it was a difficult decision to even narrow the field down this far. Every applicant was so great. And with that said, again, with all appreciation to Jaden, I still feel pretty strongly about Renee's association with the apprenticeships and the career pathways and being in that Inland Empire space, which was a region that we said really needed representation. I mean, we had 50 or so applicants for these. No, this one wasn't that one. Community was more. Nevertheless, though, so many applicants for this. But I think it's really important for us to try to capture some of these missing regions of the state, as well as really getting at some apprenticeship. I do feel pretty strongly about that apprenticeship focus and the career pathways focus.
Great. I really appreciate your comments, especially around just uplifting the prioritization that we had already discussed during our last meeting. So let's Member Vu.
Member Vu, since I was called out by Aaron or by Anna, I forgot who it was, but no, I'm I do appreciate Jaden calling in. It means a lot and shows her commitment. But I think Renee, to Aaron's point, brings and I would be comfortable with either. Because at first now I was leaning toward Jaden, and in large ways I still do, but I think Renee brings a unique perspective from workforce. I believe she was with the Chino Valley Chamber of Commerce. Was she the person? And I ever since the beginning, when I was first as a first board member on the C2C, I've always wanted to see more participation from the Inland Empire area and the eastern part of Southern California, and that's an important aspect that's often been missing in these discussions, and from the North State as well. And I think to large parts it still is missing from these discussions. So that's I'm comfortable with the slate as we see it in this motion.
Sorry, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. Thank you so much, Member Vu, for your comments. And uplifting those points. Member Nullum, do you want to share any thoughts before we move on?
I mean, I'm only going on what's been presented today because I did not focus on these applicants, but I do agree with the emphasis on the Inland Empire. They're an important part of the state, and I think have been missing from statewide conversations. And so I think Renee helps with that. So,
Perfect.
yeah.
Okay. So Mary Kate, I feel like we have a motion.
We do. We have a motion and a second. The motion is in front of us. Would we like to call a vote? Perfect. Stephanie, if you could walk us through that, please.
Okay. Member Gonzalez Vasquez.
Aye.
Member Jez.
Yes.
Member Nellum.
Yes.
Member Sullivan.
Yes.
And Member Vu.
Yes.
For the clarity of the record, we have 5 ayes. The motion passes.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. I know that was very difficult, but the quality of the applicants are stellar. So I knew it was going to be quite difficult. Now we will move on to agenda item 4, discussion, public comment, and possible action on the Community Engagement and Advisory Board applications. I would like to invite again Mary Kate Cruz-Jones, Chief of Strategic Initiatives and Partnerships, to present this agenda item. Thank you, Mary Kate Cruz-Jones.
Thank you. Okay, so during this agenda item, we will walk through Community Engagement Advisory Board, their scope of work, as well as I'll provide a member snapshot and then resurface helpful established experience similar to what we just did for data and tools. Lastly, I'll present the member slating based off of member prioritization. So the committee can then discuss and deliberate as we just did for data and tools. Again, we're needing to agree upon 6 applicants to seat for the upcoming vacancies and then noting the prioritization and ranking for the Community Engagement Advisory Board. So let's take a look at community engagement. So before we dig into these applications or applicants, let's talk about ground ourselves in the work of this advisory board. The community engagement folks provide input to C2C's governing board on whether its audiences are aware of the resources available and understanding how to utilize the tools developed. Again, this advisory board consists of 16 members that are appointed by the governing board, and they too serve in 3-year staggered terms. Taking a look at the member snapshot here, we'll be losing 6 folks, 2 that are from advocacy organizations, 1 that's from a community organization, and 3 practitioners. Given the departure and pending the new selection of members, the Community Engagement Advisory Board will look like 3 members that represent advocacy organizations, 3 members that represent community organizations, 3 practitioners, and 1 student. On the April 28th committee meeting, members discussed and agreed upon opportunities to strengthen engagement and expressed interest in candidates with demonstrated experience in certain communities. 4 communities that were identified were California State University, regional focus in the Central Valley, as well as Northern California, and tribal communities. So we have those listed here. Taking a look at that rubric, this will look familiar to members as you receive the applications, the summary spreadsheet that you utilize for your personal review tool, the Google form to uplift your prioritization, and then this rubric for your scoring. So y'all approved this on the 28th. As we've noted before, the defined criteria was community affiliation, community ambassador or actionable experience, soliciting input and communicating needs and concerns, and student and educator tools. So, taking a look at that application breakdown. We've said this many times today, very thoughtful pool, comprehensive applications, lots of tough decisions in front of you all as a committee. We're pleased to announce that we received 56 total community engagement applications for these 6 vacancies. The office received 2 additional applications that were not reviewed by the committee because they were ineligible due to being employed by an organization represented by the governing board. As we've, said many, many times, it's been a competitive process. We want to thank the applicants and the members again. On the application, the applicants had the opportunity to self-identify. This was linked to question number 9. Based on that information, what the applicant selected, and then the information in the application, applicants were grouped into vacancy categories, which you see in front of you. And then the committee members provided their prioritization. So out of the 56 Community Engagement Advisory Board applications received, there were 4 applicants that were grouped as advocacy representatives, 16 applicants that were grouped as community organization representatives, 26 applicants that were grouped as practitioners, 7 applicants that were grouped as researchers, and 3 applicants that were grouped as students. There were 7 applicants in total that disclosed that the secondary category, that graduate student that we've talked about. But the student status that's here in front of us, that was just for folks in their undergraduate journey. Again, as we've discussed a few times today. So let's take a look at advocacy. Thank you. Again, apologies if I chop any names up here. So after tabulating the rubric scores from members, the top ranked advocacy representative was Vincent Rasso from the University of California Student Association, and the runner-up from this category was Elizabeth Marquez Bernardino from Alpha Public Schools. Taking a look at community, the top ranked was Omar Butler from New Door Ventures, and the runner-up was Nina Torres from LA STEM Collective. For practitioner, specifically K through 12, and the reason why this happened was because we got such a large number of folks that identified as K through 12 practitioners. We did 1 practitioner general and then 1 practitioner K through 12. So there's 2 sections. The top ranked was Danielle Carmison from Ferndale Unified School District. And then we have a choice point here for members. So there was a tie between Megan Lowry from Stanislaus County Office of Education and Sheila Tupua from the Governor's Office of Service and Engagement, Office of Community Partnerships and Strategic Communications. So as a reminder to members, this is where we'll be looking to you to make that selection for runner-up, and one of these 2 applicants will not be seated. So the choice point is here for us in green. In looking at the practitioner larger category, there was a tie between Abby Grattage from Cal Poly Humboldt and Toby Robulatis from Corona Norco Unified School District. So we need a selection there. And then the other person will fall into that runner-up category, and this is for us here in purple. Now looking to researcher, the top ranked individual was Juliet Maestas from Red Sky Education, and the runner-up was Tina Nogu Bartel from San Diego and Imperial Center of Excellence. And last here is the student. So this is all folks in their undergraduate journey. The student representative being Duria Ahmed from the University of California Student Association, and the runner-up being Jessica Lopez from Coastline Community College and ASU Online. All right, so bringing this all together into one place, this is what potential slating could look like based off of your scores. Wanted to uplift that based on the prioritization. We have at a minimum 2 choice points, which are reflected in green and purple for you here. Again, the potential motion, you would include the 6 names of the seated applicants and the 6 names of runners up, again, for approval to the governing board. And then before I turn it over to Chair Lopez, I'm sorry, I just completely gave you a new name. Before I turn it over to Committee Chair Gonzalez Vasquez, I'm so sorry, I don't know where Lopez came from. It would be mindful of members for the questions that we have in front of us. I know that y'all have given this lots of thought. And then, as we did before, I think it's easiest and simplest if we keep folks earmarked in their vacancy category. Y'all just demonstrated this in data and tools. And then I think that that's it for my notes and commentary. So I am happy to send it back to Chair Gonzalez-Vasquez to lead us through member deliberation. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mary Kate. Chris Jones, for just breaking down what we need to do. And now I do want to turn it over to governing board members. And I truly apologize. I thought everyone read all the applications because I did, but I know that there was a member Sullivan and Jez were focused on the data and tools, and member Vu and member Mellom are focusing on the community engagement board. So I just wanted to name that. I'm sorry, since I did all the reading, I was like, yes, what are your thoughts? So now I do want to open it up for member Vu and member Nolo to provide any comments. Member Nolo?
Yeah, thank you. I read all of these, and so I'm happy to see this slate. And I think much like the last conversation, extremely strong pool of folks, really hard to narrow down. And if it's okay, I think for this first choice point, is that okay? Just to share some thinking at this point. Um, of the two that are listed here, I believe, I'm sorry, my notes are spread across a ton of spreadsheets. I am leaning towards, yes, it's yellow on mine. I'm leaning towards, oh my gosh, I don't want to, Abby, for a couple reasons. One, they're a graduate student, which I think is important. And then I also appreciated that they talked a lot about career advising, that they're also representing, I believe, the northern region, which I know has been a challenge for many commissions in the state. And then lastly, I think they talk a little bit about employment and using tools to help people think about employment and exploring that. And so for those reasons, Abby very slightly tips the scale in that direction for me. So thank you.
Thank you, member Mellom, and for pointing out the two different prioritizations that we talked about. The first one being the northern region, and the other also is, I did notice that Abby also represents the California State University as well. So I think that was another prioritization that we talked about as well. Member Vu?
Yeah, just to clarify, member Vu, just to clarify, I reviewed the data and tools, not community engagement. And I did not have the chance to review community engagement either. I know we had the option of doing that, but unfortunately I didn't have the time.
I believe I was the second on community engagement.
Appreciate the clarification. Thank you, member Sullivan.
No matter how strong my opinions were on the data and tools.
Thank you for that clarification. Appreciate that.
And I think, may I, Chair?
Yes, member
I'm
Sullivan?
sorry, I don't know, member Vu may still have the floor.
Okay.
No, and yeah, just to echo, what Christopher mentioned, about Abby and to me, highlighting, that Abby, represents, for lack of a better term, the North State. I think that's, as Chris mentioned, right, that's been a priority for not only the C2C, but many commissions in the state. So I think I would lean toward Abby, for that.
Appreciate your comments, member Vu, member Sullivan.
Yes, thank you, member Sullivan, community engagement. No. I completely forgot.
Advisory board.
Thank you. Just advisory board is good enough. So I think probably this is an indication of one of the places where I went off script. and thought, oh, adult ed, that's so important. Maybe we didn't talk about that as a priority area, but it really should be. And so as I was reading these applications, again, I think I leaned into some areas that we hadn't prioritized, and so that's for another year. Maybe I get to do this again next year, and next year I'll say, hey, you know what? We need apprenticeships and we need adult ed. But I just want to go ahead. Again, this is a very difficult decision, but agreeing with Member Nellum insofar that if we're keeping with the priority areas that we did take the time to deliberate and set, that Abby is an excellent choice, being also at a CSU, having that Humboldt, like so far north region area, which is very hard to get. And for the variety of other talents and focus areas and touch that Abby has, that they talked about on their application, I would also agree with choosing Abby.
Thank you so much for those comments. I also, Member Sullivan, in my notes wrote for Toby, adult education also as a priority. So I'm right there with you. But I, based on some of the areas that we did identify during the last meeting, I do think Abby is the person that we would, best fit that category. Okay. Should we move on to runners up? Okay. Member Nolan?
Yeah, thank you. I sort of kicking myself. Looking at these two folks for runners up. Anyway, I'm kicking myself because I'm just looking at Sheila's, is it Sheila? Sheila's profile again, and of the two, yeah, I mean, it seems as if, Sheila's role is to engage community and really think about how to prioritize community voice and community responsiveness. Also talked a lot about the importance of linguistic diversity as you're thinking about community engagement. And so given this advisory board, given the intent and purpose, I actually think Sheila is, at least as described, is really great, given the goal of the advisory board.
Appreciate your comments. Member Sullivan? Are you swaying either way?
No, thank you for honestly, thank you for calling me out, Member Sullivan, advisory board member. I will admit that I had leaned into Megan because I saw Stanislaus County Office of Education. So not only does it meet with one of our regional choices, but working where I work here at the Commission on Teacher Credentialing, I have an inside knowledge, not of Megan specifically, but of the kind of strong work that they do at Stanco. So I found myself leaning in. I'm like, great, we get that central region and we get somebody from Stanislaus County, and I know how fantastic they are. But that said, I 100% agree with Member Nellum about the assets that Shayla would bring. And I would be willing to lean into Shayla, I think, very, very easily, knowing that, again, these are runner-ups, and perhaps Megan would apply the next time we have an opening, and, we can move Megan into out of a runner-up position into a main position. But I am fine and supportive of Shayla in this choice.
Thank you so much for your comments. I also was leaning more towards Megan because of the geographic considerations. But I do see the importance of having someone really involved in leading, organizing, understanding some of those barriers for folks to participate. So I would be okay with Sheila. Member Board Noel, you have your hand raised. Did you want to add?
Me? Oh yeah, I mean, if the two of you are leaning Megan, I think Megan is fantastic too. And given the prioritization that we did identify beforehand, that makes sense to me. I think I was just really drawn to the other candidates' title and work and sort of alignment with the advisory board, but Megan is fantastic also.
So am I hearing a motion? Does this look good? Does anybody else have any other additional comments? Any other board members?
Apologies here. So if I was following conversation, I think maybe it just flipped, but I'd be happy to get things prepared so that we could have a formal motion being made. But what I was following up to now was Vincent for advocacy, Omar for community, Daniel for practitioner K-12, Abby for practitioner, Juliet for researcher, Duria student. Runners up looking like Elizabeth advocacy, Nina community. And I thought we were at Shayla for practitioner K-12, but maybe that just flipped. And then
I think we're at Megan.
I think we're, yeah.
okay,
I think
Switched.
we are. Yes.
okay.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, so Megan, I don't want to misspell her last name. Megan being K-12, runner-up, practitioner, Toby, practitioner, runner-up, Tina, researcher, runner-up, and then Jessica, student, runner-up. This feels like what we're saying? Okay, so I believe that I have the motion language ready. So we could put it on the slide for you, and then when someone on the committee feels so compelled, we can have somebody voice it over.
Great. So we'll wait for the slide to come up. Great. Can I get a motion? Member Noah?
Yeah, need to read this word for
Yes.
word. Yes, okay. I move to recommend Vincent Rosso, advocacy, Omar Butler, community, Danielle Carmessen for practitioner, Abby, I'm so sorry on these names, Grattage for practitioner, Julie Mastas for researcher, Duraya Ahmed, a student for appointment to the Community Engagement Advisory Board, and Elizabeth Marquez Bernardino for advocacy, Nina Torres, community, Megan Lowry, practitioner, Toby Ruplatius for practitioner, and Tina Bartel, researcher, Jessica Lopez, student, as runners-up to the Community Engagement Advisory Board for final approval by the governing board.
Thank you so much, Member Nolan. Can I get a second?
Second.
Great. With a motion in a second, we will now open it up for public comment. Stephanie Gutierrez Valdez, can you take us through this section, please?
Yeah. Confirming that there's no one at the C2C office, opening it up to Zoom. For members of the public that would like to make a comment, please raise your hand at this time using the button at the bottom of the screen. If we have more than 10 folks that would like to comment, speaking time will be 1 minute. With more than 15 folks wanting to comment, we ask that you state your name and the name of the applicants you are supporting. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I am confirming that I see 5 raised hands, so public comment will be allocated for 2 minutes. I kindly ask that my colleague Cynthia Lopez Montes please proceed to slide 49. Great. Okay. David Sue, I have permitted you to speak. Your 2 minutes starts at this time.
Hello, everyone. My name is David Sue. I will be employed at the North Orange County Community College District in the fall. I was wondering if it is appropriate to run off the floor for any of these positions. Since I only found out about Cradle-to-Career after the application deadline. So if it's appropriate, if anyone could answer that question. Is it okay if we pause the time for someone to answer?
I'm deferring to Mary Kate.
Yeah, hi, David. Sorry, this is public meetings in Bagley Keene, which feels a little bit inhuman. But typically how traditional public comment works is you speak, and the committee or staff don't respond. I would be happy to engage with you. I was just trying to think, there's no chat, so how I would get your information. If you could email at info@c2c.ca.gov, I'm happy to talk with you. But per processes and procedure, the application process is closed for this year, but we can talk more about what that could look like for next year.
Understood. Thank you so much. I respect how y'all do Robert's rules, and I am excited to see how y'all vote and hope to get more involved in the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for your engagement here today.
Okay. We are moving on to Linda Gleason. Linda, I have permitted you to speak. Your 2 minutes starts now.
Good afternoon. I'm Linda Gleason with Fresno Cradle-to-Career in Fresno County, and I'm in support of Megan Lowry as the candidate for runner-up as a practitioner. I think, thank you so the slate, I'm in support of how you've slated. I wanted to add that, first of all, Cradle-to-Career organizations exist throughout California and can possibly be in support of the work that you all are doing on the data system. The organization that Megan leads, while housed inside of County Office of Ed, focused on K-12, has got intimate proximity with cross-sector partners throughout Stanislaus County, from government like county departments, Department of Social Services, Department of Behavioral Health, Public Health, also healthcare, early childhood, housing, philanthropy, private sector, and residents in the community. So just wanting to share that that's a unique reality with Cradle-to-Career partnerships and Megan's particular expertise. I also wanted to just make note that under Megan's leadership, Stanislaus Cradle-to-Career has gotten very involved in the orchestration and the coordination of the administrative function of CalAIM for their county, which is something that Fresno is learning a lot from, and are grateful for the intensive work that's gone in to understand that system.
Okay. Moving on to Shayla Tupa. Shayla, I have permitted you to speak. Your 2 minutes starts now.
Good afternoon. My name is Shayla Tapua, and I'd like to start off with a big thank you to the Cradle-to-Career staff and the committee members available in Zoom at this time. Thank you for making this application process seamless and available to the public and having a streamlined process to go through the review application. Now I'd like to speak on behalf of my application and advocate for myself. I'd like to say that I have prepared myself both professionally and personally to make a competent candidate and runner-up for the Community Engagement Advisory Board. My personal and professional experiences have prepared me to be efficient as a community member and as a community engagement personnel in my various roles. In the mayor's office, my work was leading educational and workforce initiatives for first-generation college-bound students and students of color that are also identified as low income. We did it with community engagement at the core, prioritizing multilingual assets, and also community and family engagement, specifically parent and family student support that would get students from high school to higher education. Throughout my career, specifically the Boys and Girls Club, and now in my current role, my work has also focused around statewide engagement and also ensuring that we are meeting communities where they are at and identifying their priority needs and ensuring that we are being good listeners and good advocates for our community. So I do ask that you please reevaluate the criteria and or your discussion around my application and evaluate the candidate and not the organization for which they work for, and also evaluate the experiences that were in my application versus the organization that I work for that speaks louder than the organization that I'm currently in. I thank you for your patience and thank you for allowing me to speak.
Okay. Next, Megan Lowry, I have permitted you to speak. Your 2 minutes starts now.
Thank you. My name is Megan Lowry. I hold the position of Stanislaus Cradle-to-Career Partnership Director, and I'm speaking on behalf of my application. I really appreciate the time and consideration you've taken for the plentiful applications you received for this important position. As the director of a regional place-based partnership housed in the Central Valley, combined with 25 years of experience in education, the past 7 years spent leading a county-wide Cradle-to-Career partnership, I believe I'm well poised to inform the work of this system, bringing perspectives of practitioner, community, advocate, and parent. Having been a classroom teacher, district administrator, site principal, I hold a unique set of experiences that have driven me to lead a collective impact partnership, bringing educational partners, cross-sector partners together with the belief that our education system and educating children is the responsibility of the entire community. We are deeply involved in community engagement. We have 2 initiatives, the Stanislaus Youth Empowerment Alliance and the Stanislaus Parent Network, a dual language network that are really thriving and would bring those perspectives. Additionally, I would bring the perspective of the California Cradle-to-Career Coalition, 16 unique communities doing place-based partnership across multiple geographic regions. We're a member of a national organization, as well as I'm currently a fellow with Harvard's Graduate School of Education Ed Redesign Cradle-to-Career Fellowship. I think all of these unique experiences highlight not only my commitment to the education practitioner sector, but also the lens of Cradle-to-Career collective impact work. So I thank you for considering my placement and runner-up on the Community Engagement Board.
Katrina Linden, I have permitted you to speak. Your 2 minutes starts now.
Good afternoon, Katrina Linden on behalf of Young Invincibles and a co-lead of the Data for the People Coalition. We are proud to support Wendy Threat, a classroom teacher who has applied to the Community Engagement Advisory Board, as well as Vincent Rasso, an advocate who we see slated today and a utilizer of the data system and somebody we are proud to call partners in our work. As you make your final deliberations today, we hope to emphasize the real need for practitioners and classroom teachers to be with on the ground experience to be represented on this board, and really appreciate the work you all have done to come to today's selection. Thank you.
We have Nita Anasari. I have permitted you to speak. Your 2 minutes starts now.
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Netta Anasari. I represent adult education through a state leadership project called OTN, the Outreach and Technical Assistance Network. I'm here to advocate for Dr. Toibi Reblitis as a strong candidate for the Cradle-to-Career Advisory Board. She is an experienced administrator, director, and adult education leader who brings a deep understanding of equity, workforce readiness, and data-informed program design. She is an exceptional leader. We get to see her from a statewide level, bring in that critical pieces of family literacy to many of the communities. The child goes home to an adult learner. You know, we really truly want to close that equity gap. Our education systems should talk to each other, K-12, adult education, post-secondary, workforce, etc. We want to align. Toibi understands this deeply. She works across systems to ensure programs speak to each other, families are supported as a unit, and learners are empowered to elevate and use their voices. In my role as a state leadership program coordinator, I've had the privilege of working with Dr. Reblitis closely. She brings both strategy and empathy to every conversation. Her ability to see across silos and uplift those most often left behind would be an incredible asset to the board. So that's what I have for you. Thank you so much.
Okay, Committee Chair Gonzalez Vasquez, we have no further raised hands. Public comment is closed for this portion of the agenda.
Great, thank you so much. And I appreciate those that participated in the public comment and also advocated for yourselves. Really appreciate you. Like we mentioned before, this is a really hard decision. And we have really incredible folks applying for very few seats. So I will now pause and allow for any comments from governing board members, advisory board members. Any changes? I feel very comfortable with the motion, but wanted to make sure before we move forward. If there's any comments, I see nodding heads.
I just wanted to say I appreciate folks coming and participating and providing public comment, in particular the folks who are advocating for themselves. I think we should always do that. I think it's an important life skill, and I feel comfortable with the current motion.
Member Sullivan, how are you feeling?
I feel the same way that Member Nellum feels.
Great.
Yeah.
So do I. Okay. So we have a motion and do I need to call the motion again?
We have a motion and a second. If helpful, Stephanie can do the roll call vote.
Oh, perfect. Thank you so much. Stephanie, can you guide us to the roll call, please?
Yes. Member Gonzalez Vasquez?
Aye.
Member Jez?
Aye.
Member Nellum?
Yes.
Member Sullivan?
Yes.
Member Vu?
Yes.
For the clarity of the record, we have 5 ayes. The motion passes.
Thank you all so much. Thank you, Stephanie. We will now move on to our next agenda item, which is general public comment. And this section is reserved for general public comment. Stephanie Gutierrez Valdez, do you want to walk us through this section?
Confirming that there is no one at the C2C office, now opening it up to Zoom. For members of the public that would like to make a comment, please raise your hand using the button at the bottom of the screen at this time. If we have more than 10 folks that would like to comment, speaking time will be 1 minute. With more than 15 wanting to comment, we ask you state your name and the name of the applicants you are supporting. Okay, at this time, I see no raised hands for general public comment. I will close this portion of the agenda.
Thank you so much. Now we are moving on to agenda item 6, future agenda items. Again, during this agenda item, we will open it up for members, followed by advisory board members, followed by members of the public. And at this time, folks can request items that they would like to see as future agenda items. We'll start with advisory board members. I don't see any hands raised. Now we will move on to and open it up to the public. Stephanie Gutierrez Valdez, can you walk us through this section again?
Yes, confirming that there is no one at the C2C office, and now opening it up on Zoom. For any members of the public attending via Zoom that would like to make a comment, please raise your hand using the button at the bottom of the screen. Please note that if we have more than 10 folks that would like to comment, speaking time will be limited to 1 minute. At this time, I see one raised hand. Cynthia Lopez Montes, could you please proceed to slide 49? Thank you. David Sue, I have permitted you to speak. Your 2 minutes starts now.
Thank you all, committee members. My name is David Sue once again. I recently learned about this organization as I am in the community college space. I was a transfer student. Now I have my bachelor's in psychological science, sociology, and a minor in health informatics. And I just want to get involved. I will be employed at the North Orange County Community Colleges District in the fall. I currently volunteer at Cypress College's Asian Pacific Islander Desi American Resource Center. I've also interned at the Inland Empire Health Plan at the OC Healthcare Agency as well. So in data analytics, in community health, and I in data visualization, data analytics, and I just want to see where I can get involved. And I will definitely email the email y'all have provided me and hope to attend future meetings. I will be applying to grad school in the fall in educational counseling, student development, and higher education. And I'm excited about the future and seeing if there's any opportunities for me to get involved with the organization. Thank you again for allowing me to speak, and enjoy the rest of the meeting and the rest of the weekend.
Okay. Confirming at this time that there is no other raised hands, I will close this portion of public comment.
Thank you so much, and definitely appreciate the enthusiasm for this work. Now we will move on to agenda item 7, adjournment. I just want to thank everyone for joining us today, specifically our 5 committee members, the entire CTC team, for your ongoing support, and the public for their invaluable input and support. Our achievements are the result of a collective collaboration, and your ongoing support has been invaluable to our success. I would also like to extend a thank you again to all those that applied this year. The applications were so thoughtful and really well crafted, which made this very difficult, as you can tell. And I would also like to thank the individuals that have provided written or verbal comments for the applications. We too appreciate your time and energy. As a general reminder, the individuals that were selected today will be advanced to the August 15th Governing Board meeting to be recommended for approval from the Governing Board. This will be an opportunity to join this meeting. There will be an opportunity to join this meeting in person or virtually through Zoom, and more information will be forthcoming on the C2C website. And good luck to all candidates, and thank you all again for being with us today. I would like to adjourn the meeting at 1:51 p.m. Thank you all. Have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you.